In the vast expanse of the Milky Way galaxy, amidst the swirling cosmic dust and twinkling stars, there existed a governing body known as the Galactic Council, made up of representatives from over 3,000 sentient species. They maintained order through a complex system of laws, treaties, and bureaucratic paperwork filed in triplicate. But among their countless regulations, one stood above all others. Under no circumstances shall anyone make contact with the inhabitants of Sol 3, known colloquially as Earth. This rule was so fundamental that it was encoded into the genetic memory of every species upon joining the Council. Not because Earth was dangerous, or because humans were particularly special. No, it was much simpler than that. Humans were just really annoying. They asked too many questions, complained High Chancellor Grex, a gelatinous blob with 17 eye stalks. And they never accept the answer because I said so. They insist on trying to mate with everything, added Ambassador Plex, a sentient crystal formation. Do you know how uncomfortable that is for a silicon-based life form? And they're always making those awful jokes, chimed in General Torg, who represented a hive mind of intelligent bees. No, I don't want to hear about the birds again. For eons, this arrangement worked perfectly. Ships avoided Earth's solar system. Probes were programmed to self-destruct rather than be detected. Even the most curious alien tourists knew better than to take selfies with the primitives who still thought digital watches were a pretty neat idea. But then came the incident. Junior Navigation Officer Clapp was having a bad day. His tentacles were cramping. His third wife had just divorced him to marry a sentient toaster, and the ship's coffee synthesizer was broken again. So when he accidentally punched in the wrong coordinates and found himself on a direct course for Earth, he panicked. Instead of following protocol, which involved a complex series of evasive maneuvers, Clapp simply hit the big red button marked emergency cloak. The problem was the cloaking device was undergoing maintenance. Commander Ellie Morgan was having a perfectly ordinary Thursday at SETI headquarters. 37 years old, with a perpetual coffee stain on her lab coat and a skepticism that rivaled her intelligence, Ellie had dedicated her career to searching for extraterrestrial intelligence. Today, like every day for the past decade, she expected to find nothing. Which is why she nearly choked on her bagel when her instruments detected an unmistakable artificial signal originating from just beyond the moon. It wasn't background radiation. It wasn't satellite chatter. It wasn't even the Chinese space station playing K-pop too loudly again. Jerry, she called to her assistant. A gangly postdoc with more enthusiasm than sense. Are you seeing this? Jerry adjusted his thick-rimmed glasses and stared at the screen. Holy crap. That's a spaceship trying to activate a broken cloaking device, Ellie finished, her voice unnaturally calm. And based on these readings, it's not one of ours. At that precise moment across the galaxy, an alarm blared in the Galactic Council's headquarters. Alert. Alert. Code purple. Repeat, code purple. High Chancellor Grex's eye stalks all swiveled in horror. Someone wake up Earth? Admiral Vralik, head of security, checked the alert details and groaned. It's worse than that, sir. They woke themselves up. They detected one of our ships. Grex's gelatinous form paled to a sickly yellow. May the cosmos have mercy on our souls. The Galactic Council's emergency response to first contact situations was a well-oiled machine, except when it came to Earth. Nobody had ever bothered to create a protocol, because, well, it wasn't supposed to happen. The ensuing panic resembled nothing so much as a cosmic Keystone Cops routine. Send in the memory wipers, shouted one counselor. We discontinued those after the Zargon 7 incident, replied another. Remember? Half a planet convinced they were sentient houseplants? What about a cover story? We could say it was a weather balloon. They stopped falling for that in the 1960s. High Chancellor Grex oozed frustration from every pore. Just send someone to fix this mess. Someone expendable. And that's how Admiral Zork found himself heading toward Earth. A six-limbed being from the planet Crixaxis, with blue scales and an expression of permanent disappointment, Zork had made a career out of following rules to the letter. His personal file described him as pathologically incapable of improvisation and allergic to fun. Naturally, the Council considered him the perfect sacrificial lamb, This is an absolute disaster, Zork muttered to his ship's AI. My one chance at promotion, and I get sent to babysit the cosmic equivalent of a toddler with a nuclear arsenal. Look on the bright side, chirped the AI, programmed with mandatory optimism. Perhaps they'll name a dish after you. Humans do that with people they've eliminated. Meanwhile, back on Earth, Commander Ellie Morgan was facing her own bureaucratic nightmare. What do you mean you don't believe me? She shouted into her phone. I have the data right here. The Pentagon official on the other end sighed audibly. Commander, we get alien sighting reports every day. Most of them involve probing in very uncomfortable places. This isn't some backwoods abduction story, Ellie insisted. This is verified scientific data showing an artificial non-terrestrial object using technology that defies our current understanding of physics. Have you tried turning your equipment off and on again? Ellie slammed the phone down and turned to Jerry. They think we're crazy. Maybe we are, Jerry offered. Maybe it's mass hallucination. Or gas leaking in the facility. Or maybe, Ellie interrupted, we need to take matters into our own hands. What followed was perhaps the most impressive display of human ingenuity, or insanity, in recent history. Using nothing but the SETI array, 3 amateur radio sets, a modified Xbox, and enough caffeine to kill a horse, Ellie and Jerry cobbled together a device capable of sending a targeted message directly to the alien ship. The message was simple: we see you. Want to hang out? Attached was a GIF of a dancing cat. When Admiral Zork received this communication, he violated 17 Council protocols by immediately spitting his drink across his command console. They sent us a dancing feline? Is this some kind of threat? A ritual challenge? He demanded of his cultural specialist. Lieutenant Plump, a specialist in primitive cultures, examined the message. I believe, sir, that this is what humans call a meme. It's a form of communication indicating casual friendliness. Nonsense, Zork declared. It must be a sophisticated military code. No species would communicate using such absurdities. Plump looked nervous. Actually, sir, all our research indicates that's exactly how they communicate. Zork stared at the dancing cat for a long moment. We're doomed. After Admiral Zork's reluctant decision to establish official first contact, a choice made primarily because running away would have violated his strict adherence to protocol, Earth exploded into chaos. Governments pointed fingers, religious leaders proclaimed either salvation or damnation, and social media became even more unbearable than usual. The United Nations hastily assembled a First Contact Committee consisting of scientists, diplomats, military officials, and for reasons nobody could adequately explain, 3 reality TV stars, and a famous chef. We need to send our best and brightest, insisted the Secretary General, people who represent the pinnacle of human achievement. Unfortunately, most Nobel Prize winners were too busy arguing with each other about who should lead the delegation. The backup list of distinguished professors all suffered convenient cases of sudden onset agoraphobia. Even the most decorated military generals developed mysterious bone spurs. That's how Doug Miller, former manager of a fast food restaurant chain and current mid-level diplomat, whose primary qualification was being in the right place at the right time, found himself aboard the first human shuttle to the Galactic Council's hastily established neutral meeting station. I still don't understand why I'm here, Doug complained to Commander Ellie Morgan, who had been included in the delegation on account of actually discovering the aliens. I was just delivering sandwiches to the UN meeting. Apparently, Ellie explained while checking her equipment, you were the only person in the room who didn't faint, throw up, or try to call their therapist when they showed the alien footage. Doug shrugged. I worked retail for 15 years. Nothing scares me anymore. The meeting station was a marvel of alien engineering, a perfect sphere hovering just beyond Earth's atmosphere, with gravity that somehow always felt natural regardless of where you stood. The human delegation gaped at everything like tourists at Disney World. Please refrain from touching anything, Admiral Zork instructed as they entered the main conference room. Some surfaces may be sentient. Some of my ex-girlfriends said the same thing, Doug quipped. The translator glitched, and Zork's species equivalent of a frown deepened. I don't understand. It's a joke, Doug explained. Never mind. And thus began the most awkward diplomatic meeting in galactic history. The human delegation presented gifts, artwork, music recordings, and a selection of Earth foods. The aliens were particularly disturbed by cheese. You deliberately spoil the mammary secretions of other species and then eat the solidified result? Asked one counselor, turning a shade of green that clashed horribly with its natural purple complexion. With wine, confirmed Doug. It's delicious. Cultural misunderstandings piled up faster than paperwork at the DMV. Humans laughed at what turned out to be solemn ritual greetings. Aliens were deeply offended by handshakes, which in several cultures constituted a marriage proposal. One diplomat had to be quietly removed after developing an allergic reaction to Earth's oxygen content. Through it all, Doug maintained the unflappable demeanor of someone who had spent years dealing with customers demanding to speak to the manager because their fries weren't precisely horizontal. Look, he finally said, interrupting an alien ambassador's 14-minute formal greeting. Can we cut to the chase? You guys have been avoiding us for centuries. Something went wrong. And now we know you exist. What happens next? The aliens exchanged glances or whatever passed for glances among species that communicated through color changes or pheromones. Admiral Zork cleared his throat, or the organ that served a similar function. Humans are now entitled to petition for membership in the Galactic Council, as is customary for any newly contacted species. Great, Doug replied. What's the application process like? Approximately 7,000 of your Earth years, Zork answered. The paperwork alone takes 3 millennia. Doug leaned back in his chair. Yeah, that's not going to work for us. We're more of an instant gratification species. That, Zork said grimly, is precisely what we were afraid of. The negotiations had been dragging on for weeks. The humans demanded faster integration into galactic society. The Council insisted on adherence to protocols established billions of years ago. Doug had taken to bringing crossword puzzles to the meetings. That's when the emergency alarms blared. Zork's communicator erupted with frantic messages. His typically blue scales turned ashen gray as he read them. We need to evacuate immediately, he announced, all formality forgotten. Our long-range sensors have detected a voidborne fleet entering this sector. A what now? Asked Ellie, who had been sketching designs for potential human-alien hybrid technologies during the duller parts of the negotiations. Zork's compound eyes narrowed. The real reason we avoided contact with Earth. As the delegation was hurried to a secure briefing room, the truth finally emerged. The Galactic Council hadn't isolated Earth because humans were annoying, though that was certainly a factor. They had done it to protect humanity from the Voidborn, an ancient enemy that hunted emerging civilizations. They feed on potential, explained High Chancellor Grex, now present via hologram. They sense species on the cusp of achieving interstellar travel and consume them, their technology, their knowledge, even their very essence. Like cosmic vampires, Jerry suggested. More like cosmic strip miners, corrected Admiral Zork. They harvest civilizations at their most vulnerable point, when they've developed enough to be useful but before they're strong enough to defend themselves. Doug frowned. So why didn't they come after us before? We've had spaceflight capability for decades. The council members exchanged uncomfortable looks. We may have been running interference, admitted Grex, scrambling your signals, redirecting Voidborn scouts, occasionally sabotaging your more advanced projects. You've been keeping us technologically stunted? Ellie exploded. Do you have any idea how many resources we've wasted trying to figure out why our experiments fail? You should be thanking us, Zork retorted. Without our protection, your species would have been harvested centuries ago. Some protection, muttered Doug. You kept us ignorant and vulnerable. And now that the bad guys have found us anyway, we have no way to defend ourselves. A silence fell over the room. Then, hesitantly, one of the alien scientists spoke up. Actually, that might not be entirely true. All eyes turned to the scientist, a spindly arachnoid being named Dr. Clicksix. The Voidborn have standard tactics for dealing with council races. They know our technologies, our strategies, our thinking patterns. But humans, Dr. Clicksix gestured with one of his 8 limbs. Humans are completely unpredictable. You do things no rational species would consider. Is that a compliment or an insult? Jerry wondered aloud. Both, replied several aliens simultaneously. Chancellor Grex's hologram flickered as he leaned forward. The Void-born fleet will reach Earth in approximately 72 hours. The Council forces are mobilizing, but our nearest battle group is 6 days away. So we're on our own, Ellie concluded. Not entirely, Zork said, surprising everyone. My ship and crew will remain to assist you. It's not much, but... Doug smiled for the first time since the alarms had sounded. It's a start. And if there's one thing humans are good at, it's making do with what we've got. There's something else you should know, Dr. Klix added. Our scientists have been analyzing your planet for centuries. Earth contains elements and compounds rare elsewhere in the galaxy. Your world is, quite literally, made of materials the Void-born covet most. So we're not just on the menu, Ellie said grimly. We're the main course. Absolutely not. Admiral Zork's scales flashed indignant patterns of blue and red. It violates at least 17 safety protocols and probably the laws of physics. Ellie crossed her arms. Do you have a better idea? The makeshift war room had been established in a repurposed hangar at Area 51, which, as it turned out, had never housed aliens until now. The irony wasn't lost on anyone. Look, Doug interjected. The Void-born are expecting conventional space warfare. Lasers, particle beams, shield technology. But they've never encountered humans before. They don't know what we're capable of. Mostly because we're not capable of much, Jerry mumbled. That's not true, Ellie insisted. We have something they don't, creativity born from desperation. What followed was perhaps the strangest defense planning session in military history. Humans proposed ideas that made the aliens physically recoil. Aliens contributed technologies that humans immediately wanted to weaponize in ways their creators had never imagined. Wait, so this device creates a localized field that accelerates molecular movement? Asked General Williams, one of Earth's top military minds. Yes, confirmed Dr. Klix. We use it for rapid food preparation and therapeutic muscle relaxation. So it's a microwave gun, the general translated. A really, really big microwave gun. Dr. Klix's mandibles clicked in distress. That would be an abhorrent misuse of culinary technology. Welcome to Earth, Doug said with a grim smile. Admiral Zork watched with increasing alarm as humans systematically transformed civilian alien technology into makeshift weapons. Agricultural seeders became projectile launchers. Medical scanners were repurposed to disrupt enemy ship systems. Even the aliens' entertainment devices were being modified to broadcast frequencies that could scramble Void-born communications. This is not how space combat works, Zork protested weakly. Maybe that's why the Void-born keep winning, Ellie suggested. As the unlikely allies worked together, something unexpected happened. The aliens began to shed their rigid adherence to protocol. The humans started to appreciate the elegance of alien technology. Cultural barriers eroded under the pressure of shared purpose. During a rare break, Admiral Zork found Commander Morgan alone, staring at satellite imagery of the approaching Void-born fleet. Your species is terrifying, he said without preamble. Ellie smiled tiredly. Thanks. Yours isn't so bad either once you loosen up a bit. That's what concerns me, Zork admitted. In just days, you've influenced my crew to think differently. Lieutenant Plonk suggested we could use our waste recyclers as projectile weapons. That idea would never have occurred to him before meeting humans. Is that so terrible? It's unprecedented, Zork replied. Which, I'm beginning to realize, might be exactly what we need. He hesitated, then extended one of his 6 limbs in an approximation of a human handshake. For what it's worth, Commander, if we survive this, I will personally advocate for Earth's immediate inclusion in the Galactic Council. Ellie accepted the gesture. And if we survive, I'll teach you how to make proper coffee. That sludge your synthesizer produces is criminal. Across the facility, Doug was conducting an impromptu lesson on human warfare tactics for a group of bewildered alien engineers. So in this Trojan horse strategy, clarified one alien, you pretended to offer a gift while concealing warriors inside? Exactly, Doug confirmed. And your opponent fell for this? Hook, line, and sinker. The alien made notes. Deception. Misdirection. These concepts exist in our tactical manuals, but not like this. That's humanity for you, Doug said proudly. When we can't win fair and square, we change the game. The Voidborn arrived exactly when predicted. A fleet of massive ships, black as the space between stars, shaped like nothing Earth science fiction had ever imagined. Less like vessels and more like mobile ecosystems, they loomed in Earth's orbit like predators circling wounded prey. They're scanning us, reported Jerry from his console. Standard procedure before they begin harvesting, according to the Council data. Then let's give them something interesting to scan, Ellie replied. The plan was insane. Even Doug, who had suggested some of its more creative elements, acknowledged that. But insanity was humanity's secret weapon. Phase 1, distraction. Earth's satellite network suddenly began broadcasting every piece of entertainment humans had ever created, all at once, on all frequencies. Movies, television shows, radio programs, podcasts, cat videos. The information overload was designed to confuse the Voidborn's sophisticated analysis systems. They're shifting their scan patterns, Jerry announced. They're trying to filter the signal. Phase 2. Confusion. Admiral Zork's ship, along with several hastily retrofitted Earth vessels, launched directly toward the Voidborn fleet. But instead of attacking, they began performing elaborate evasive maneuvers that made no tactical sense whatsoever, patterns derived from Earth's most complicated dance routines. The Macarena is particularly effective, noted Dr. Clixex with newfound appreciation for human culture. The Voidborn ships adjusted formation, clearly trying to anticipate an attack strategy that followed no known logic. Phase 3, deception. They're taking the bait, General Williams reported. Primary harvest ship is moving into position above the Pacific. Below the ocean's surface lurked humanity's secret weapon, a massive network of repurposed alien culinary devices, medical scanners, and entertainment systems, all cobbled together and powered by Earth's nuclear arsenal. Not elegant, not protocol approved, but very, very human. Now, shouted Ellie. The makeshift device activated. The ocean directly beneath the Voidborn harvester began to boil, not from heat, but from accelerated molecular movement that created a rapidly expanding steam pocket. The pressure wave shot upward, encasing the alien vessel in a cocoon of superheated water vapor. Simultaneously, every Earth defense system fired, conventional missiles alongside alien technology repurposed in ways that made their original designers cringe. The combined assault wasn't particularly elegant, but it was spectacularly effective. The Voidborn, confronted with attack vectors their billion-year history had never encountered, hesitated. That moment of confusion was all the human-alien alliance needed. They're retreating, Jerry exclaimed, disbelief evident in his voice. The smaller ships are actually retreating. The primary harvest vessel wasn't so lucky. Trapped in the steam cocoon and bombarded from all sides, its otherworldly hull began to crack. Light spilled from the fissures, not the cold light of technology, but something organic, something alive. Should we cease fire? Asked Admiral Zork, suddenly concerned. If that's a living being. It's a living being that came here to consume our entire planet, Doug pointed out. I think self-defense applies. The harvester ship didn't explode so much as it unraveled, coming apart in strands of luminescent matter that dissipated in Earth's upper atmosphere like a short-lived aurora. In the command center, humans and aliens alike stood in stunned silence. Did we just? Jerry began. When? Ellie finished. I think we did. Admiral Zork checked his instruments. The remaining Voidborn ships have entered faster than light travel. They're gone. Will they be back? Asked General Williams. Eventually, Zork admitted. But not soon. And next time, both the Council and Earth will be ready. The celebrations that followed were as impromptu and chaotic as the defense had been. Humans taught aliens to high-five, with mixed results depending on the number of limbs involved. Aliens introduced humans to beverages that changed color based on the drinker's mood. Cultural exchange had never been so entertaining. 3 weeks later, the Galactic Council convened an emergency session. High Chancellor Grex called for order as representatives from thousands of species argued about the implications of recent events. The Voidborn have been our greatest threat for millennia, Grex reminded the assembly. Yet a primitive species with minimal assistance managed to drive them back using technology we provided for food preparation and entertainment. The humans are dangerous, shouted one counselor. They don't follow protocols. They don't respect established methodologies. Precisely, agreed Grex. And that is exactly why we need them. The motion passed with unprecedented speed. Earth would receive immediate provisional membership in the Galactic Council. The 7,000-year application process was waived entirely. Admiral Zork, newly promoted to Council Security Chief, personally delivered the news to the human delegation. There's just one condition, he told Doug, Ellie, and the others. The Council has established a new cardinal rule. Let me guess, Doug said with a smirk. Don't let humans touch the really dangerous toys? Actually, Zork replied, his scales rippling with what humans now recognized as amusement. The new rule is, always consult the humans first. Ellie raised an eyebrow. Even though we're annoying? Especially because you're annoying, Zork confirmed. The galaxy, it seems, needed a wake-up call. As the human delegation prepared to return to Earth with news that would forever change human history, Doug paused to look out a viewport at his home planet. The blue marble that had been isolated for so long. You know what this means, right? He asked no one in particular. The galaxy broke the only rule that mattered. Don't wake Earth? Ellie suggested. Doug nodded. And now they'll never get us to go back to sleep.